it'll kind of show up differently. Hey, welcome. Here we are. We're going to be talking about responsibility today. My name is Christy Mattoon. You're with Mindrewire. And one of the focuses, one of the key things we do is obviously subconscious change. So for those of you who are in my subconscious change course in Mindrewire University, I thank you for being here. And for those of you on YouTube who don't really know what that is, I kind of want you to look into it. What we're talking about today is responsibility and taking responsibility for your actions and reactions in regards to anything in your life. And actually, a misconception about responsibility is part of what we're going to be talking about on this recording today. So stick around. If you're part of my YouTube fan club, I really thank you for that. That's amazing. If you're not, go find Mindrewire on YouTube and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. It helps with my standings on YouTube. So let's talk for a second about responsibility and what responsibility is. Responsibility is not so much about how much or how little. That's a misconception. So a lot of times we take on responsibility based on how much we think we can handle, or how much we want to handle, or if we can think we can, do whatever it is we're taking responsibility for. But it's really not about that. Responsibility is about knowing what you're responsible for. What is it you're responsible for? Who are you responsible to? It's about knowing the right thing versus what I'm not responsible for. When you start measuring it, that's where things get messed up. If I start measuring how much I can handle, or how much I want, or what's too much, what's too little. And you can almost look at it like, if I have too much responsibility, I start to panic, right? Because of the way I'm thinking about it. If I'm not taking responsibility, people might tell me that I'm being insensitive to the needs of others around them, or, the way we think of our millennials right now becomes a huge part of that because they don't take responsibility, supposedly. I see a lot of them who actually do, so it's kind of an interesting weirdness also. But taking responsibility is a big piece of all of this. There's also a train of thought that says you should take responsibility for 100% of everything that's in your realm, that's in your reality. I kind of disagree with that, because some of the stuff that's in your reality, that's in your little world, if you take responsibility for it and it's somebody else's job, now what are they going to do? Now you're taking away part of what it is that they should be doing. You can think of it like a pie. So think of a pie, right? Maybe a big apple pie. And this pie is all sliced up. There's all different pieces of this pie. Some of the pie of responsibility is yours. There might be a piece or two, maybe even more. Maybe half the pie is yours. Maybe only one slice is yours. Maybe the slices aren't even cut up evenly. Who knows, right? In respect to whatever it is you're talking about, if it's my family, the pie might be cut a certain way. If it's my job situation and coworkers, the pie might be cut a different way. What part of the pie is yours? And if you're taking over the whole pie, how much are you taking on that isn't even your responsibility, that's not something you should be taking on? It will cause you feelings of distress. It will cause you feelings of discomfort. It will cause you a lot of anxiety when you start taking on so much that's not even yours. So you can take care of the things that are yours by thinking of it as responsibility without taking on so much. And it's not even so much. I have to quit using that word. Without taking it on and taking on the stuff that's just flat out not yours. So how do you do this? There's actually a little step-by-step process we can walk through that will help you figure this out. What is your responsibility and what's not? So I want you just to think of a situation. Think of a period of time. Think of something that you've gone through where you were just like overburdened and it stressed you out. And then inside of that, you can take a few deep breaths and close your eyes and kind of go inward for a second and feel that thing. Find that place where you're at. And just think about, and actually don't think about, I want you to ask yourself, is this mine? Is this responsibility mine? Just notice. Notice what you're feeling. Notice what that looks like to you. Now inside of that, I want you to pretend like you see a little dial, like a little clock in front of you. And this dial represents percentages. So from 0 to 100%. On that dial, I want you to just look and notice and ask yourself, what percentage of that responsibility was mine? And just see what shows up. Just notice. Try not to judge it. Try not to make any kind of conscious decision to it. Don't think about it too hard. Just notice what shows up. And now with that, I want you to look at what came up. So the situation I was doing this with earlier, I got 33%. 33% of that thing was my responsibility, even though I was trying to take 100% of the responsibility. Tons of stress, tons of anxiety associated to it. I want you to look at whatever your percentage is, and I want you to say, okay, I take authority of that. I'll take my 33%, and I'll be responsible for my 33%. And if you want to break it down even more, sit here even longer. You can come back after this training. Come back and just sit a little bit longer and just try and dive in a little bit deeper and even ask yourself, okay, in that 33% or whatever your percentage is, what part of that, what does that look like? What were the pieces that I was responsible for? And just see what shows up. See what comes to you. The next step is you're going to release the rest. So whoever's responsible for it, just release it. Because when you release that and let it go and they have to take their responsibility to it, they get to grow too. By us always taking, and I'm going to include myself in here hardcore, by us always taking responsibility for all of these things and trying to own it 100%, we're keeping other people from stepping into their power. We're keeping other people from taking control of their life where they should be taking control of their life. Now, if you're in my Mindrewire University course, that's what this course is all about. It's to help you be able to take control of your life and come into a place where you're in alignment with the things that you're responsible for. So I want you to go through this exercise and pick a few different things. Pick a few different topics that you can go through and that you can bring yourself in and out of. Pull up that gauge, notice where it's at, take responsibility for it, and the rest of it, let it go. And then come back inside and notice how you feel. The test is truly to go out and walk in your day and go notice if you can hold up your part of the responsibility. Just your part. Can you let everybody else take authority and control where they're supposed to? Now, another thing we wanted to talk about today, or I wanted to talk about today, is your thoughts and feelings, and how your thoughts and feelings create your personal reality. Joe Dispenza, I think, said it best, and I repeat this all the time because I just love the way he said it. He said that your personality creates your personal reality. So your thoughts and feelings and what you think about yourself, what you feel about yourself, create the person that you are. They create what you feel about yourself, and that creates how you act out in correspondence to your day. And it actually creates your state of being. Okay, how you think and how you feel creates that state of being. So I want you to stop for a minute, and I just want you to go back inside and notice, what does your current state feel like? What does your current state feel like? Take a few deep breaths, go inside and feel it. Are the things that you're thinking about aiding you and propelling you into the future that you want? Now, obviously, for those of you who are in Mindrewire University, that's why you're in here, because you've noticed something about yourself that you're not able to quite rectify. You haven't been able to get on top of it. Some of the things that we use, I don't know what you call it, some of the different methods that we try and use just aren't quite hitting the mark. People all the time coming to me right now going, my meditation practice is getting harder instead of easier. What is going on? They can't meditate because their subconscious mind is so packed full of all the junk that you've lived through, and your past starts becoming your future. Your past starts becoming your future. If you don't clean that stuff out and get rid of it, and that's part of what meditation is supposed to do, is help you get rid of that. But if it's not, you're actually making the neuroplasticity even stronger, and that becomes a huge issue. We have to go in and really take very precise measures to clean that out, and that's what Mindrewire University is for. So think about it. Do the things that you think and the things that you feel, are they helping you propel into your future? How you think and feel actually becomes your identity. It's how you associate to yourself. So in order to change your reality, you have to change that personality. Think about your personality and how you describe yourself and how you try and wedge your personality into the scope of your existence. It is who you are, it's your identity. But if your personal reality isn't lovely and you're not liking where you're at in your life, maybe it's the personality that needs to go. You got to change the way you think and feel about yourself in order to think and feel different about yourself. And that sounds really elementary, but it's hard to do. And if you've never thought about it that way before, it makes it really super simple. All of a sudden you're like, oh, if I don't feel bad about something, if I can change the way I feel about it, and that's back to our perception. And that's why we're here, is to change our perceptions. So I want you to know that a lot of times the things that you're suffering with obviously come from your past. If your past has become the vehicle for your momentum in life right now, that's where you get stuck. It's where you get stuck. If your past has become the momentum for the vehicle, or the vehicle for your momentum, that's where you're stuck. If you can change vehicles, get into a different car, go a different direction, life gets easier. And the question is, well, how do I do that? How do I do that? And that's where I teach people how to use a whole brain state to come into alignment with their systems. Also bringing your system into alignment from all the different aspects. And that's what we'll go into in the university. But so if you're in pain, if you're suffering in your life, your spirit's trying to tell you something. So on a spiritual note, on that spiritual aspect of yourself, your spirit is standing there screaming at you to change something. If your physical body feels like it's falling apart, you're starting to get pain and aches and all kinds of stuff that you've never had to deal with before, that can come at you from many different directions, including our food supply, our environment, the air, the water, all of these things. But another aspect of it is simply your past. And so that emotional distress that you keep carrying around with you from your past all of a sudden affects your physical body. It causes symptoms, it causes pain, it causes suffering. When you can move that and get rid of that, you'll see all kinds of things start to change. And that's where life just opens up and gets really beautiful. So stop for a second. Sit down with yourself and go, okay, Spirit, what are you trying to tell me? And just feel it. Just notice what your spirit is trying to tell you. Engage with yourself in this different aspect. If you think about this, your level of vibration, the level that you're operating at, when it actually meets the life that you want, they have to match. My level of resonance in this plane versus I don't know the word I'm looking for, has to become equal to what it is I want. They have to match for me to be able to move on. If your pain and suffering, right, wherever that is at on your meter, and your level of resonance are the same, guess where you're at? You're at pain and suffering. If all of a sudden I change one of them, the other one has to change. And they work in regards to each other. So your pain and suffering goes away when all of a sudden you raise your resonance, and then your life changes because you're bringing in new information and you're coming at it from a different place. So I start asking, what is my spirit searching for? What am I needing? What am I wanting in this moment? What does it need that it doesn't have? What does your spirit need that it doesn't have? Most people are living their lives in their past. Yes, that's why we're here. Because we're living our lives in our past and we don't want to anymore. The past becomes your personal reality. It becomes your identity. And then it shows up. And then everything you think, feel, and act every day motivates you into your future. And that's where we want to change. That's where we have to do all of this different. So the past creates personalities. We have to change our personality. You're not who you think you are. In the spirit form, you're not who you think you are. You are who you were taught you are by your past. If you go all the way back and you start it all over, what would you tell yourself? What would you teach yourself? What would you do different? What would you do different? Write those things down. Make a list of these things. You don't have to be the person you think you are. That's what it comes down to. You can be the person that you want to be by changing these things. You act like who you think you are. You feel like who you think you are. You think like who you think you are. What if you start acting like something you're not? What would change? That's how people change a lot of things in their life. When we take it into the subconscious mind, it changes way more rapidly. It can happen a lot faster. But you have to start matching your level of thinking with your level of feeling and your level of action. They have to be congruent in order for things to change. And now we're back to responsibility. That is your responsibility. 100%. Your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions are 100% your responsibility. And so I go back into the steps. Is this mine? Is the feeling mine? Are the thoughts mine? Are the actions mine? Is it mine? If it's not, put it down. Don't take responsibility for things that aren't yours. You don't have to. You want to take responsibility for the stuff that is yours. And if in this current moment this thought is mine and I'm sitting here thinking something so negative that I can't walk past it, I am going to change the thought. Now we're talking about something like an affirmation, right? Create a different thought, do a 180-degree flip on it and write it totally different. Those don't typically work because people's subconscious minds are so locked down with all the junk that they have been taught, they can't get new information in. And so then we're back to, okay, now what do I do to go in and scrub that out? And that's where I'm using a whole brain state and a couple of other energy techniques that I've learned that have just been amazingly effective. And when you stack them on top of each other, the transformation is so rapid. And I'm excited for the people who are already in the course. If you're watching this on YouTube, jump on over to my page if you want to join the course. It's a really good idea. It's a great thing to do. And rapid transformation, start now, right? Your life isn't getting your life isn't getting any longer. That's what I feel like. And time seems like it's moving by faster. And actually, when your subconscious mind is cleaned out, time changes. Your concept, your perception of time changes. Things kind of slow down a little bit. You'll notice a difference, kind of like a weird time warp where you're like, oh, and your existence just kind of seems to change. So it's kind of cool. So hang on, people on my course. People on YouTube, I'm so glad you were here. I'm glad you watched this. If you're interested in Mindrewire, head on over to mindrewire.com. You can check out my site there. There is a place in one of the sections in courses where you can go and find Mindrewire University. Join right now. It's more than 50% off. And you can also get private sessions in there at a lesser rate too if you're interested, in conjunction with buying the course. If you talk to me privately, it's a totally different price point. We're doing some different things than in the scope of inside the course. The course itself is how to use a whole brain state in order to rewire your mind. Again, thank you for being here. Please go ahead and subscribe to my page, and we will be talking to you again soon.